Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine that you're shopping online and you come across some pants that cost just $5. What do? Well, the reviews seem to be pretty good. That buy button is looking quite tempting. Let's be honest, there's always something exciting about getting a great deal on nice clothing, whether it's a sweater or even some socks. However, there is a hidden price on some of the clothes we purchase, one that cannot be measured by money. Fast fashion is a rising industry that focuses on cutting costs, sell clothes at a cheap price. Temu, a platform consisting of such brands, is now #1 in shopping on the App Store, with America being by far its biggest consumer. But let's take a step back and take a moment to wonder how. How is it that these brands are able to sell shirts and dresses for as low as $3? It's because they don't stop at using inexpensive materials. They exploit their workers. To further examine this issue, we can apply Rotary's 4-way test. First, is it the truth? Let me tell you the story of Rupali, a mother of 2 young children. She was a garment worker in Bangladesh, working at the Reina Plaza factory, which housed dozens of clothing sweatshops. On April 23rd, 2013, Rupali came to work as usual. She clocked in, took her station on the 6th floor, and began sewing, when suddenly, the floor beneath her feet crumbled. Just like that. Over 1,000 workers died that day, and many more sustained serious injuries. But this is not a story of architectural failure. It is one where profits were put before worker safety. You see, on April 21st, 2 days before the tragic event, large structural cracks were discovered on the building. Yet the owners of the sweatshops told their workers to come in as if nothing ever happened. When workers like Rupali initially refused, the employers threatened to cut their wages. Such incidents of worker abuse do not lay buried in the past. They still continue on today. For instance, the cheap clothing sold on Temu has been traced back to child labor, horrendously unsafe working conditions, and forced labor. Findings from a US congressional report. This is the truth. Second, is it fair to all concerned? It's certainly not fair for laborers to suffer in sweatshops while the corporations rake in billions. There are arguments that forcing these businesses to pay higher wages will result in significantly higher prices. But that's not necessarily true. There are plenty of ethical brands, like Levi's, that pay decent wages, sell affordable clothing, and still make a hefty profit. The problem is not the price. It's corporate greed. It's cutting wages and ignoring safety risks to maximize profit. Today, fast fashion is not fair to all concerned. A change is needed. Which brings me to the third question. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? With stronger regulations and more awareness, yes. The transformation of the fast fashion industry will foster both goodwill and friendships. Through legislation, the US can become a role model, more carefully tracking supply chains, requiring more transparency, and preventing the sale of goods traced back to nefarious practices. By doing so, the US would become the first nation to systematically block unethical imports, setting a precedent to protect workers around the world. Workers like Rupali. And finally, will it be beneficial to all concerned? There are currently 75 million fast fashion workers. Yet, according to the documentary The True Cost, less than 2% of them earn a livable wage. By requiring these businesses to pay workers fairly in order to sell their goods to us, the workers' wages will rise. Consumers would still have access to affordable goods, and the brands themselves build long-term relationships with their customers, ones built on trust and transparency. Everyone benefits. So the next time you see those $5 pants, take a moment. Ask yourselves, how much do they really cost? And more importantly, what choice will you make? Thank you.